lot of people think of yoga, just the physical, and then meditation, just mental health. But actually, a big area of research for both meditation and yoga overall is cardiovascular health. We're improving our immunity, having less sick days at work. I could break down each system of the body. We can look at fertility. We can look at, of course, cognition, memory, and the nervous system, sleep. There's not a single system of the body that meditation and yoga don't have evidence to support for helping you function.
When you think about yoga and meditation, you might picture incense, chanting, and maybe a good stretch. Nothing all that life-changing. But here's the thing. There's hard science that shows these practices can profoundly impact our health, and Anne Swanson has written the books to prove it.
Anne has dedicated her career to helping people harness the power of mindfulness, movement, and the mind-body connection in tiny, manageable steps. No incense or chanting required. In her latest books, Meditation for the Real World and Science of Yoga, Anne breaks down how these practices can improve nearly every aspect of our health and how anyone can build them into their day.
It's January, the time of year when everyone hits the ground running. We're setting goals, building new habits, and pushing to start the year off strong. But all that momentum can come with a price: stress, burnout, and routines that just don't stick.
If you're feeling the pressure, you're not alone. So, in this episode, Anne explains how yoga and meditation helped her overcome chronic pain and anxiety, and how they can help you too.
It's the New Year's episode you need. We've got 30-second yoga moves, 1-minute meditations, and the small, sustainable habits that can make all the difference. Welcome to The Breakout, a show about smashing through life's little boxes and forging your own path. I'm Dr. Carrie Ulrich.
And I'm Kelly Gunther. Carrie and I are people and change experts, best friends, and business partners. We've spent more than 25 years helping employees and leaders change. With love and a lot of laughs, we're here to empower you to live life on your terms. Our methods may seem a bit unconventional, but trust us, they will change your life.
Let's be real for a second. We know change can sometimes be scary. Heck, it even scares us. But staying the same can be even scarier. On The Breakout, we prove that you can escape expectations, and best of all, we show you how. Hey, Anne, let's start with our warm-up. In just one sentence, what does your book and your work help people break out of?
A lot of times we are just in our heads. And we need to break out of being in the cycles in our heads, break those cycles, whether it's rumination about the past or obsession over controlling the future. We need to come back to the present moment. So whether you want to use my first book, Science of Yoga, or movement practices to come to presence, and or, of course, meditation, my second book that just recently came out, Meditation for the Real World, it helps you to come into presence, because ultimately presence will make you have more clarity and connection.
I love it. We're going to get into yoga and meditation, but I want to go back a little bit to the story of what brought you to doing all this great work and talk about some of the struggles that led you to do the work that you're doing today.
Well, I came to yoga, meditation, and mind body practices for selfish reasons. I was dealing with a lot of chronic pain since I was a teenager, as well as anxiety, and I call myself a recovering perfectionist. So I came to these practices, like many people, for my own healing and health. And I ended up traveling the world to dive into these practices. I went to China to study Tai Chi and Qigong, and then to India to study yoga and meditation. And from there, I came back to the US to get the Western perspective and study going into the medical field. I didn't know what I would want to be, but I did the whole pre-med course load and worked in a cadaver lab and studied the human body from that perspective in order to really heal myself. But now that I have a lot of tools for chronic pain and anxiety and therapeutic purposes, I'm here to share with others.
I love, Anne, that she said, I'm a recovering perfectionist. I think so many people could understand that. And I know that at first, yoga and meditation weren't exactly your thing, but you traveled to China and India, like you mentioned. And so what propelled you to start digging in so deep?
I really wanted to have both sides, the traditional side and the science to support it, the evidence that I know is so important for many of us. And it's important to get meditation and yoga into healthcare, into schools, into policies. It's critical in the West to have the science to support it also. So I wanted to have both sides. And when I was in India, my teacher, he was self-taught in anatomy, physiology, science, as well as, of course, he knew the traditional. And it just sparked my interest. I was like, I have to study the human body and go deeper into it. So I looked at the human body from the perspective of psychology, from the cadaver lab, massage therapy, from physical movement like yoga asana, and for all greedy reasons to improve my own health and be able to guide myself through yoga and meditation. So really, that's what propelled me.
It sounds like you didn't fall in love with it the first time you tried it.
Yeah, so when I would go to yoga classes, I thought it was just the physical. And at the end of the class, when we get to the meditation part, we'd be lying there being guided through a relaxation. I'd have my eyes wide open. I was ready to go. I got my exercise and I had things on my list of things to do. And so I was going through them in my head and I just wanted to walk out. I did not get that part of the practice, which is such a critical part of yoga is the meditation practice. Actually, when we look at yoga as a whole, it has 8 limbs. It has 8 different parts, and the poses is only 1/8. And depending on how you look at it, meditation is like 6/8 of it. It's really the majority of the practice is about meditation. And so over time, teachers would try different techniques in yoga classes where I was getting introduced to meditation. And, sometimes they would stick and I'd get that glimpse of like, oh, wow, that's what it's like to let go and relax and be present.
And now the results in terms of your health, like when did that kind of all of a sudden there was a click? You're like, damn, I am healthier now. Like this is really working.
Oh gosh, when you deal with chronic pain, it's one of those things that like flares and goes away and then gets better. And I just have a lot less flares of it.
That's
It doesn't
amazing.
take over my life where I'm not, bedridden anymore. You can take your health and well-being into your own hands and really make a profound difference. And managing stress is a big part of it.
We'll get back to the interview after this quick break.
On the Breakout, Carrie and I celebrate big changes and small shifts. Only about 10% of us are really self-aware, but 90% of us think we are. Without self-awareness, change is tough. And if you don't know what box you're in, you can't break out of it. That's where we come in.
We are coaches and consultants that help you dig into change. We've spent our lives breaking through expectations, and we've devoted our careers to showing people how to do the same. We're here to help you demolish the story you've built around yourself to reveal the true you. Then the real fun begins.
And by fun, we mean helping you figure out your why and taking action to forge a fresh path. Connect with us at abrachigroup.com.
And you were talking about that feeling of letting go and being present. Tell me more about how you can get into that state with these practices.
One example of that, we can do a like short one as your listeners are listening, they can engage in it too. It's called progressive muscle relaxation. And it's often used in the beginning of meditations to prepare your body. It's like a natural muscle relaxant when you're like really tense. And a lot of us are really tense in our shoulders, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our face and jaw, and we clench our jaw. So we'll do a short version of it right now to feel the results. So what you do is you just take your shoulders and squeeze them up toward your ears. Tense them, pucker your lips, squeeze your face, and release. Let's do it again. So really sigh it out. Inhale, squeeze the tension out, and sigh it out. Yes. And just feel the shoulders drop, release down. Feel your head gently float up and your facial muscles let go. And you might feel, wow, I was squeezing my shoulders a little before and I didn't notice it. This is teaching your body the difference between tension and relaxation. And a lot of times our body and mind aren't making that connection. So this technique is often used for anxiety and sleep. And when a teacher guides the students through it before a meditation, I was just like, oh, that's what it feels like to relax. And I would get that glimpse and then I would get hooked.
I love that. Thank you, by the way, for giving us a little yoga exercise. And it is, you feel it. I've done that one before. And thank you for reminding me to do it because I forget. And it's such a good one because it really, you can feel all the tension and then it just releases. And it does remind you to kind of just relax your face, relax your shoulders. It's so powerful.
And you can do it at your desk anytime,
Yeah.
like a lot of times we're leaning forward, squeezing our
Yes.
shoulders up, answering an email, and our
Yes.
face is all scrunched up and we don't even really realize it. So just taking a little breathing break, doing a 1-minute meditation, squeeze and release, and then you can get back to your email or whatever you were doing with clarity.
I love that because listen, Kelly and I are from the Midwest, but we live in Southern California where yoga and meditation is talked about, I feel, every hour on the hour, right? So this is a group that is very excited for yoga and meditation. But it also comes with this brand of very sometimes woohoo, and it doesn't seem very hard science. But you've done so much research in your book, The Science of Yoga. So maybe talk to those who are on the kind of more hard science and asking, well, why am I doing yoga?
Yes. I actually collaborated with Dr. Sarah Lazar, a Harvard researcher in the meditation and yoga field, to integrate like the most cutting edge research into meditation for the real world. And what people don't realize is that with yoga and meditation, especially over the last couple of decades, there has been exponential growth in the research. And we're seeing positive effects for every system of the body. A lot of people think of yoga, just the physical, and then meditation, just mental health.
Yeah.
But actually, a big area of research for both meditation and yoga overall is cardiovascular health. We're improving our immunity, having less sick days at work. I could break down each system of the body, we can look at fertility. We can look at, of course, cognition, memory, and the nervous system, sleep. There's not a single system of the body that meditation and yoga don't have evidence to support for helping you function. Basically, you're able to function and more in an optimal state when you're able to relax and use these tools, these ancient tools that have stood the test of time for a reason. There's a reason people are attracted to it even thousands of years later. Meditation is not just from India, it's from all over the world. There have been practices pop up that overlap quite a bit, and there's a reason they stood the test of time. They really work.
Yeah. You talked about that you want to be at your optimal functioning. And you said the word relax, and that when we think about a lot of things that we do. So people will talk about sports and being an athlete and having fun and relaxing before you go out, presenting. You don't want to be so nervous that you can't present or perform. And so that relaxing part puts you into that state where you can be optimal. And I think sometimes people find those to be opposite, meaning if I'm going to go out and present or be in the Olympics, I got to be all tense and because there's a lot of pressure on me. And it's actually quite the opposite. If you could relax, you could be optimal, and yoga and meditation can help you do that.
And we saw this with the Olympics recently. So many Olympic athletes coming forward and giving meditation credit for their wins and their mental health. And so one thing that I think is a big misconception is that you need to do like a long practice every morning. You got to wake up and dedicate this big amount of time every single day to it. But actually, those scenarios you just gave, whether it's you're about to present at work or you're about to play a sport and you want to be the top of your game, you can do a little 1-minute meditation beforehand. You could do it in the bathroom stall. Nobody needs to know you're doing it. You could do a little breathing break where you're doing some breathing exercises before you walk on stage, and nobody can even really tell. And that's what I wanted to integrate is these science-backed techniques in practical ways in meditation for the real world, right? That's the name of the book because it's real world situations, just as you described, broken down in each chapter. What do you do when you're about to present? What do you do when you're about to play tennis or when you're absolutely overwhelmed and can't sleep? We all have these scenarios in life. Now, what would be the best technique to approach it? Because there's not a one size fits all meditation technique. It's not just mindfulness, which is kind of the buzzword, cures everything. Actually, some mindfulness techniques cause more anxiety in people. And that's what we've seen in the research. And if you've ever tried a meditation technique, those of you listening, and you felt, wow, I felt more anxious afterwards, or that didn't work for me, I'm not good at meditating. It's not that you're not good at it. It's that you were doing the wrong meditation technique for you or for that situation. You know, I do different techniques if I'm trying to sleep than if I'm trying to get energized for, you know, a run. It's a totally different technique.
I love that you said that, Anne. I think so many people start meditation, it doesn't feel right. Then I must think, well, it's not for me. And that's not true because there's different types of meditation. So let's talk more about your book, Science of Yoga. Why did you feel like this book needed to be written? And what is different about Science of Yoga from other wellness books that are out there?
Science of Yoga is a DK book. And if any of you know DK books from your children, they are known for the most beautiful illustrations in the world.
Yes.
So I teamed with one of the best illustrators in the world, Aaron Lewis, to create this book. And so it has these 3D images of the poses, not only the muscles that are being activated, which people are interested in, but as I said before, every system of the body. How does yoga affect your digestive system? How does it affect your immune system and lower inflammatory markers? So you'll get a deep dive into the science behind that, as well as practical tips of how to apply it in your body. So I really love seeing people on social media with the book open on their yoga mat, down on the floor, doing the poses and exploring, how does this feel for me?
I know Kelly is, would you consider yourself, Kelly, a recovering perfectionist? Kelly knew I was going to say that. I think we're both have the perfectionist. And can I say, Kelly will appreciate this. We talk, Anne, quite a bit about us being from a German background. And there's a lot of perfectionism just embedded in that culture. And I was watching a travel show and they were in Switzerland, the German part of Switzerland, Zurich. And I used to live there. So I kind of know this culture just a smidge. And they were making a Swiss Army knife. And the woman was helping the guy, he was from England, make the knife. And she said, push, not too much. Don't push too much on that, but don't push too much, but don't push too little. And he said, so I have to push perfectly. Yes, you do, perfectly. And I thought, oh my God, I love that so much. And that's what Kelly and I grew up with, which is not too much, not too little. Perfect. Okay. Perfect. So Kelly, how are you feeling? Because I know I was triggered when Ann said a recovering perfectionist.
I feel very seen for one thing, and I'm surprised it didn't come up a little bit earlier. I love that you've demystified a bit about yoga and meditation, because I know myself, I have very little patience for learning something new. And so when it doesn't work for me right away, I tend to just let it go and move on, which is clearly not how learning works. It does take multiple attempts and multiple tries. But I'm curious, you've talked about a 1-minute meditation, which for a lot of people, I think is going to be a really nice balance for maybe I'm not doing it very much, if at all, to I want to kind of dip my toe in and see what it's all about. So what is it and why is it such a game changer?
Yeah, let's do one. And for the listeners to actually practice, this is one I'll do when I'm at my computer and I've just been staring at a screen for too long and I need a little break. So if you have a window wherever you are, look out the window. But if you're, near a screen, of course, you would look away from the screen and just let your eyes expand. So let your vision expand and look past the screen and pause and notice what you see. Take it in. Even looking away from a screen, your eye muscles relax. Your vision broadens. Notice what you see with clarity. And then feel free to close your eyes if that's comfortable, to bring your awareness to what you hear. It doesn't have to be perfectly silent to meditate, so listen to the sounds that are present, whether they're loud or in the distance or up close. Maybe you can even hear your own breath in the foreground. Take a deep inhale through the nose. Notice any smells. Exhale. Notice any tastes that are present. And then notice what you physically feel. You might even feel compelled to adjust your posture or wiggle a little, move your body, listen to what your body needs. Maybe you physically feel like you need a sip of water or you need to go to the bathroom and get up, whatever. Just notice it. And gently open your eyes and take in all of your senses simultaneously. What you see, hear, smell, taste, and feel. Taking in this moment with a new sense of clarity. And then you can get back to whatever you were doing. Or your body might have told you you need a sip of water. So you might need a sip of water, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we're not listening to our body.
100%.
So I call that the 5 senses meditation.
Amazing. I feel the difference. It really can be the difference maker for someone who's maybe transitioning from a meeting or going into something particularly stressful.
Kelly, I am so happy that Ann has put back into my world the lifting the shoulders exercise. It's such a good one. And I think I just fell out of the habit of doing that because you do feel so much better, especially with our computers. So I'm so happy. Not only did she bring that back, but also she did our first on-air meditation. Amazing.
Agree. I was at first a bit skeptical because I didn't know really what you could accomplish in 1 minute or the shorter time. And then I realized I'm like this most of the time. How is this any different than how I normally sit? But what came to mind for me was, the intentionality of it. Giving yourself the permission to use the time that you have to not only do that thing, but then also incorporate something that's purely for you. The fact that she made it very practical, it gives you that permission to say, I could easily work this into my practice. And that's what it is. Practice makes permanent. There's no perfection. If you want to do something that's more involved or more intense, her book allows for that, but this is like short practices that you can really take advantage of to feel some of those instant results, which in an instant gratification world, I think many of us will appreciate. Speaking of screens all day, staring at them, we know a lot of people, while they may want to get out in nature, maybe they don't have the opportunity. Is there something that you would recommend for people who really struggle trying to find a way to maybe strike more of a balance between getting outdoors versus being kind of captivated by their laptops?
Yes, I have a whole section in the book about how to integrate nature. And a lot of us think we need to go into the woods, but actually, research shows that green and blue spaces, even in cities, have a profound effect on our mental health. And that means simply a fountain, that's a blue space, and listening to the sound of the water sitting next to a fountain, or a green space, a little area where you have trees, you can walk in, you can smell the trees. And it's interesting, the scent from trees, the aerosols from the trees. In research, they found that helps you to increase your natural killer cells, which is an immune response that helps you to fight cancer and other bad things. So I think it's really cool to just take a moment, even when it's just that glimpse. Now, on the other side, if you don't even have time to get outside for a walking meditation in nature, you can actually play nature sounds. I have a whole section in Meditation for the Real World about the science of nature sounds. And that's why we put them in the background of so many meditations, is because our brain thinks we're in nature when we hear nature sounds. We have like the pink noise of soft ocean waves. And that induces a sense of calm, improves your memory, can help you sleep. So we're seeing more and more science come out about how just listening to sounds of nature can be helpful. You could have it on in the background at work. Take a moment, close your eyes, and you will be transformed there. Your brain doesn't know the difference between that and real nature sounds.
That's fascinating. And I think it's yet another way to help people strike that balance. A 10-minute walk can really change your day for sure, just to get outside. So if it is possible, great. If not, it's nice to know that there are other alternative options. Anne, when you think about the work that you've done, what do you want people to see in terms of how people approach their wellness and their own bodies?
I'd like to see practical rather than perfectionism, right? Is to integrate it into your life, how it works. And you create a habit, yes, but habits are constantly adapting. You may have a habit because it works really well with your kid's school schedule right now, but then you don't have it anymore. So you have to keep adapting it. I have a free meditation challenge that's 10-minute or less meditations, 5 days. So 5 meditations. And you can create a habit by putting it somewhere in your day that just makes sense for you. And I actually suggest it's not necessarily a block of time like we think of. It's actually a cue. This is how research shows we build a good habit. So, for example, every morning you have a cup of coffee. Maybe it's a different time every morning, but you have the cup of coffee. You brew the coffee, you smell the coffee, and before you have your first sip of coffee or as it's brewing, that's when you do your meditation. So you fit it into an activity that you're already doing or a cue in your day. You are waiting for your kids to arrive when you're picking them up for school. You do it right there in the car, right? So it fits into not necessarily a time of your day, but a cue in your day of something you already have a strong habit of.
And I like the word cue too, as opposed to being something scheduled that you have to make time for in your calendar, which feels even more rigorous because that's what tends to turn people off.
Yeah, the cues can be for those 1-minute meditations too. Right before you sign into a meeting and say you're waiting for everybody to arrive, like that's time for a 1-minute meditation. Turn yourself toward the window and take that 1 minute meditation while you're waiting rather than scrolling or doing something really active. You're going to be able to arrive at that meeting a lot clearer.
Well, I mean, Carrie and I love a good action plan, and we love a good practical way to approach something that might be, for some listeners, new, because it demystifies it. It takes that maybe fear or anxiety of am I doing it the right way? And oh my gosh, am I breathing? It is really removing the expectation that you have to be perfect, you have to be right. So last question for you. It's one of our favorites. You have 1 minute with someone, Anne, who is stuck. They want to break out. Not that you've ever had that happen before, I'm sure. What do you tell them?
Well, we'd probably go through that 1-minute meditation, wouldn't
Exactly.
we? That would be the biggest thing we could do in a minute is really experience it. Yeah, that's what I would say is practice it. Actually do the practice, not just theorize it. Just take a minute and do it.
And suspend the disbelief too. I think we can often get caught, myself, I feel like it's more of me soul sharing at this point, but suspend the disbelief and give it a try. And it could become something that is a huge shift in your thinking. So, Anne, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us and for sharing all your wisdom.
Yes, I would just love for your listeners to head to meditationfortherealworld.com and check out the book and the free challenge.
Yeah. Well, I'm so happy that you have less pain now and you've seen such amazing results for you, and you're paying it forward for everyone else in the world. And your book, Science of Yoga, has been translated in so many languages. You're just helping people literally all over the world. So thank you, Anne.
Thank you.
That was Anne Swanson, science-backed Zen master, and this is The Breakout.
Kelly and I are in the business of breaking free, being brave, and living boldly. We're here to inspire you to be the badass you are meant to be. Coaching and consulting is kind of our thing, and we're really good at it. Connect with us at abrachigroup.com.
And don't forget to subscribe to The Breakout so you never miss a new episode. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And please leave us a review. Reviews help more people find the show, connect with us, and live a more authentic life. I'm Kelly Gunther.
And I'm Dr. Carrie Ulrich. See you next time.